Welcome back to Impact Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight, we are focusing on the role of social media in the ongoing election campaigns. Winnie, just before we take our next question of the evening, there's a lot of politicians have basically taken over that space, and it's a new, platform for campaign. And there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation, by the way, is when you spread something that is wrong unknowingly. Disinformation when you actually do it knowingly. Voters are out there. We are voting in August. What do you have to tell them, Winnie?
We need to change our voting patterns. Let us vote based on issues. Let us vote based on how well do we know these people. We are talking about information. If you want to get information about somebody, there's now also a lot of information about these people who are vying for leadership positions within our areas. Let us not rely on the photos. Someone goes and does something in the village, snaps a photo and shares it. Let's change our voting patterns. Let's look at issues. Let us look at these people. How well do we know them?
All right. Thanks for that. I'll take my next question from Jesse Julius. Jesse is from Kakamega County.
Are we able to create awareness to the youth, fellow youth who are living in rural areas, on how effective they can use their social media handles? And now that we've had a cyber crime and cyber bullying issues at rise. And another one, how are we able to educate these fellow youth on how they can commercialize their social media handles in a way that they can make a source of income from the same, because we've seen technology taking the lead?
Thank you, Jesse. Those are two questions in one. We'll start with the cyber crime. Then we'll finish up with the positive one. How can young people use internet more responsibly? I think April, recently you saw there was an allegation. Young people were murdered. Mm-hmm. Their bodies were found, mm-hmm. In some, I think, Kijabe forest. And the allegation was they were involved in this cyber crime. What do you tell our young people in terms of being responsible on social media?
The first thing I always say when I'm talking to young people is the internet does not forget. So whatever it is that you post there, if anyone wants to retrieve that information 5 years later, they will retrieve it. And then we have the Data Protection Act regulation, which is supposed to protect your personal identifiable information. However, there's a clause in that act that says if you post the information willingly by yourself, then the law does not cover you. So you have to be very careful. And let's remember that, I alluded to this earlier. I said, in this world, whether we like it or not, there are only two sides. There's the good and the bad. So you choose for yourself where you want to go. Even when you go to school, no one tells you that, okay, you know what, you need to study because of A, B, C, D. It's the same thing. The internet can be used in two ways. It can be used positively and it can be used negatively. So at the end of the day, just think about yourself. What is it that I want to be? Who is it that I want to portray myself as to the world? Because whatever you're posting there, we don't care whether it's your digital identity, we know it's you. And the experts, and if you decide to commit crimes on the internet, you will be found. Because all these mobile phones that you're using, everything on the internet, it's called the Internet of Things now. Everything on the internet has an IP address that can locate you specifically to where you are. So do not think that you can commit crimes through the cyberspace and that you will not be found. You will be found. Besides, we are not living in isolation, okay? There are people out there who will. And remember one last thing, we are living in an age where information is liquid. It keeps changing form every second. So right now here we are talking, we are sitting in the physical space, but it's being aired, it's in a video, it will be in photo form, and it's shared across. So just think about what you post before you actually post it. Is it necessary? Is it beneficial to me and to the people who are actually seeing what I am posting?
Thank you. Wakili, do we have a law that talks about cybersecurity, crimes on cyberspace? Could you shed some light on that?
It's the one that I talked about earlier. It's known as the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. And she's talked about the Data Protection Act. Those are the newest pieces of legislation that have been passed by our parliament. They have made an attempt to cover some of the common violations that we see online, like phishing. We have some of the things they call like cyber squatting. They have things. They have other types of things like interception of data, personal data, or banking data. The common things you could think about, but given that this is a space that is, as she said, fluid, that is changing all the time, the law has to be, the lawmakers have to work very hard to keep capturing the new violations that will come up, even as we use the internet every day. Yeah.
There's a study here, a report by Communication Authority of Kenya, CAK, which indicated that most Kenyans between ages 21 and 35 years spend at least 3 hours of their day on social media. Then there is a related position that parents have raised concerns about the dangers these has posed and the difficult task of controlling what the children access online. That's what April was saying earlier, Winnie, I'm coming to you. The young generation has bowed to pressure, and this has resulted in lifestyle faking. Mm-hmm. I think there's that mantra that fake it until you make it. They're doing it so well on social media, isn't it? So this has brought depression. Winnie, where are we as a society?
So it starts at that lower level, and now we are bringing up the tech-savvy children. They are able to do so many things on their phones that
they are actually better than us.
Yeah, they go to sites that even you would never think of accessing as an adult. So we cannot police everyone. Like April said, there are like 5 billion people on using internet. You cannot police 5 billion people. This is a personal thing. It is just a personal thing. That is my belief.
It's very worrying. But now, as we come to the close of the show, I want to just know from April and maybe the rest of the panel, are there success stories?
Of course there are success stories, because look at what has happened since COVID came. People have realized the power of the internet in education. That's one success story. Number two, we have success stories when it comes to the medical field. We now have people who can access doctors through the internet, people who cannot even be able to travel to wherever, So people can doctors can actually treat patients from across the world, from wherever they are. So the internet is a good thing. It was created to be a good thing. And we know the goodness of the internet. The difference is we need to know, it reminds me, I'm a Christian, so sometimes I go back to the Bible. It reminds me when God said in Genesis, "You shall eat of every tree of the garden except this one." But what do? That's one thing that we have been told not to touch, is what naturally, as human beings, sometimes that's what we want to do. So it's up to us again, back to what do you want your child to look like? Even teachers in school. I think this also comes down to teachers need to be educated on the cyberspace and the impacts of the cyberspace on the youth. And that's a conversation that the government actually needs to take very seriously when it comes, because these things are starting from the time our children are young now. We are in a generation where it's just millennials. Millennials don't want to do, not in a bad way, but millennials have become they're very minimalistic. They don't want to go, the full way. And as human beings, we like taking shortcuts. We like, our heuristics and biases do not allow us to go the full stretch sometimes into.
All right, Wakili, there are many young lawyers in this country, like yourself and many others. I'm aware that nowadays you do litigation from the comfort of your laptop.
Yeah, so
that's... Can you just shed more light, because that is really interesting.
So, coming down to what is happening in the judiciary, just before the COVID actually started ravaging our nation, the former CJ, David Mara, was already in the process of trying to digitize the judiciary. So they set up what you call the e-filing judiciary, e-filing portal, where we file our cases electronically, and they made rules to allow us to send documents to opponents electronically on email, on WhatsApp. Instead of the previous, you have to print out many copies of documents and move around office to office, home to home, supplying the documents. How
is it working?
So now it came to the courts.
Yes.
The Americans made it for us. We haven't been innovating, but they did. We have the Microsoft Teams that is being used by our judiciary. We have the Google Meet, and we also have Zoom. So those sessions, we join the court sessions. Even the judges, the magistrates, can actually conduct the sessions from their homes or from a different location from where they are working. And it's making the speed of determining cases much faster. We are hearing cases quickly. We're even hearing cases of people that are not within the country. I have a witness who's living in America, and they can participate in a case here in Kenya, saving them thousands of shillings, flying in and out to attend our case. Maybe they go to and the case doesn't take off. So it's really working very well. It's something that I would say should continue in every station in our country.
All right, so that means even as far as our professions are concerned, other aspects of life, social media, internet, very, very positive. And it can be used responsibly, which is the message we want to send out to young people out there. That is your space, use it responsibly. Now, as we finish the show, Winnie, I want to give you an opportunity, all of you, beginning with Winnie, to give you your final remarks, especially as we go into elections and this whole thing of hate speech on social media. What do you advise Kenyans?
Social media presents a very good opportunity for us to present our issues. We have seen like the high cost of living is across the globe. What is our voice as a country in terms of airing out our issues? So social media provides us an opportunity to plug in grassroots issues at the national level, at the global level. These days, the world is a global village. I think it is a good opportunity. We need to take it up. We need to use it responsibly so that we can be able to create change for where we are, the spaces that we occupy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wakili, closing remarks?
I would say that the internet, much as we've talked about some of the bad things, there are the good things that we are able to network across the world. Politically speaking, I would say in Kenya, I don't think that elections are won on the social media. So for the politicians, they have to really still brainstorm the nation and campaign, do the rallies, door-to-door campaigns. I think that's what works, because there's a huge section of those who are using the social media that are probably not even voting. So they have to reach the voters, and the way to do it is the traditional way to campaign.
Thank you. April?
The internet is definitely one of the best things that happened to us, because it has given us access to information that we would not have had unless we had to travel somewhere. And as young people, I would advise that you take advantage of the positive information that is on the internet to build yourself. On the aspect of the elections, again, I will say this, the internet does not forget. If someone wants to pull up something that you tweeted 5 years ago, they will pull it up. And guess what? Employers are actually using social media to try and discover the type of person that you are. So be careful. Think before you post. Is it necessary? Is it beneficial to me? And is it beneficial to the people who are seeing?
Thank you, and that's where the curtain falls for this week's edition of Impact Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. I thank my panel and my audience for the fantastic debate, and to all of you at home for watching. You can still be part of this conversation from where you're watching us from by responding to this question. Do you think social media has improved the quality of our election campaigns? Do you think social media has improved the quality of our election campaigns? Engage with us using the contacts on your screen, and let's get the conversation going. We do this again next week, and on behalf of my production crew, it's good night.